Good evening, and welcome to the Pastor Study. As I record this, today is Veterans Day, a day that we take to remember those men and women who have risked their lives, in some cases given their lives, for the freedoms that we have and for our nation. In fact, at one time this was called Remembrance Day, later changed to the title we know of, Veterans Day. These men and women marched off to war. They went to places that we will never go to, places perhaps we'll never hear of, and risked their lives. In some cases, as I said, sacrificed their lives for this nation that we have, for this, what many would call an experiment in democracy that we are living. And we have the freedoms that we have today because of what they've done, not the least of which is the freedom to practice our faith in Jesus Christ. And that's the freedom that many other nations do not enjoy. But they are not the only veterans that we need to recognize today. There are veterans, men and women of our faith, men and women who committed themselves and in some cases were martyrs for their faith, just as surely as the soldiers in our military were. Men and women who built our faith, built our churches, built what we have today. They are the foundation upon which we stand and continue to practice our faith. The writer of Hebrews in chapter 11 talks about a number of them. He calls them by name. Some of them, Joshua and Caleb, Abraham, Rahab, and others. And then he goes on to talk about those that he doesn't have time to call their names. Men and women, faceless and nameless to history, who are critical to the foundation that we live upon today. Many times they embraced martyrdom. They were willing to give their lives for what we have today. But please understand this. While they're nameless and faceless to history, and certainly to us today, they were never nameless and faceless to the Father. He knew them each by name. And if they stepped into his presence early in their lives, earlier than they should have had to, he embraced them as they crossed that line into eternity and wrapped his arms around them in love and gratitude for what they did for his church, for us today. It's said that the tree of liberty is watered by the blood of her martyrs, of her patriots. We could say the same thing about the church. The life of the church is in the blood. First of all, the blood of Jesus Christ sacrificed for us on the cross. But it's also built upon the blood of the martyrs who have given their lives over the centuries for what we have. Some gave their lives. Others gave their livelihood. They gave up wealth and riches to fulfill the calling of God upon their lives. Unless we think that all of them are in the past, let me suggest that many of them are in our very recent past. Every one of us who are believers in Jesus Christ are here because of somebody else. Someone took the time to pray us into the kingdom. Someone took the time to invite us to church or to share their faith with us. And maybe there are those, a pastor perhaps or a Sunday school teacher, who saw something in you and sowed their life into you, took the time and the effort to help build you up into who and what you are today. I can certainly think of several men who have done that with me, who have in many ways mentored me over the years. And if anything has come out of this, they are due that credit. Let me suggest that as we celebrate Veterans Day, as we honor those who have given their lives, their livelihoods for our freedoms and for our nation, that we also take the time to remember those who have sown themselves into our lives. Let me suggest that if they're still alive and you know how to reach them, make it a point of dropping them a note, an email, or calling them and say, thank you for who you have been in my life. Thank you for being willing to sow something of yourself into me and help me become who I am today. And before I close, let me make one more suggestion, that you become that for somebody else. Take what you've been given, take what you've been taught, take what someone has sowed into you and sow that into somebody else and pass that on down the line. That at some Veterans Day in the future, they'll look back at you and say thank you for being a part of my faith. And with that, I wish you a good Veterans Day, and I'll see you next time in the Pastor Study.